Well, let's move on to the world of technology and the arts. Biotechnology and contemporary art intersect in a new exhibition at the University of Johannesburg. Now, this is the first exhibition of BioArt to be held in the country as well as on the continent. The art exhibition will take place from the 20th of July to the 17th of August. But to discuss this even further, we are speaking now to Professor Leora Farber, the Director of Visual Identities in Art and Design at UJ's Faculty of Art and Design. Prof, thank you so much for your time and a warm good morning to you. This sounds like such an interesting yet promising to be quite an insightful exhibition. Please just share with us what it's all about.
Morning. It's actually a very exciting exhibition. It's the first, as you say, it's the first of its kind in South Africa and on the continent. And what it does is bring together art and science. And most particularly, we're not looking at science in a broader way. We're actually looking at science in terms of microbiology. So it's a collaboration between myself as Director of VIAD and Prof. Tobias Barnard, who is the director of another center in the Faculty of Health Sciences, which is the Water and Health Research Center. Tobias is a microbiologist. I am a visual artist by training. And so we are bringing this very unusual combination together of these two disciplines, which are usually seen as very separate. You know, people tend to think of scientists as being factual, chasing data, everything's got to be absolutely precise and correct, and artists as being more creative and imaginative, and things flow organically. But these are stereotypes. And actually we're here to see not only if we bring the stereotypes together, but how we can break those stereotypes and see what happens when you put these two, seemingly, and I use the word seemingly, different disciplines together. Yeah. And the result is actually very exciting. It results in something that we call biological art or BioArt for short, right. Which is this merging of artists using microbiology practices, but mostly using live matter, live materials. And by that I mean bacteria, mycelium, which is mushrooms, and yeasts, as an art-making material. So that's where the real interest lies, I think, is where you're not using paint, you're not using clay, you're not using conventional art materials. You're actually using live, or debatably semi-live, because there is a debate about whether bacteria are live or not, materials, but certainly materials that have their own properties and their own agencies as an art-making medium.
Right. Prof, with that being said, what do the artworks almost teach or tell us about our bodies as well?
Okay. That's a very important theme in the exhibition, in two ways. We are wanting to actually make people aware of how bacteria and microbes are absolutely all around us. Everything you touch, there's transmission from that surface to your fingertips, right? And I don't think we're actually aware of that at all. And it's literally everything that we touch. And then those microbes are transferred from one person to the next. Because if you're touching a surface and let's say you're both eating a bowl of chips, and somebody else puts their hand in and eats another handful of chips, those microbes are merging constantly. Microbes, and the other thing is we want to try and explain how microbes are not necessarily harmful or the enemy. And I think that's a common misconception that people have, thinking of bacteria, aligning them with viruses, and thinking that these microbes are our enemy. They're dangerous. We don't want anything to do with them. And we would rather negate that they even existed, and that they are either malignant or are going to have very harmful effects on our body, which is quite the the opposite, actually. Our bodies are made up of 90% bacteria. So the idea is to show that, in fact, the microbes are part of us. We are not separate entities, and we are certainly not entities that are at war with each other. So, in other words, it's not us and them, but actually a symbiotic kind of relationship between human and what's supposedly non-human or semi-living.
Yeah. And Prof, if I may just jump in there and take it back to, the 1990s, around that time, maybe for a brief history around BioArt. It seems like it has grown from being just a niche, area of interest, now growing rapidly to be an emerging field of research. Perhaps briefly just tell us about that history around BioArt as well.
Right. BioArt actually started more or less in the 1990s as quite a, how can I say, it was very experimental. People were working with tissue culture, working with body fluids like blood. But I think that it was more then about the kind of shock value or the fascination or the newness of working with these kinds of materials. And it has evolved quite slowly, I think, till, now it is more of a, one can say, a field in art making practice, but definitely only globally. So in other words, it's quite big in Europe, in the UK, in Australia. There are many BioArt labs across the world, usually affiliated with an institution, and there are certain galleries or major museums that specialize in showing BioArt. But the thing is that, it seems to be relatively unknown or unexplored territory in the South African contemporary art landscape. There are people working in that way, but I don't think it's ever been formalized into something that we can actually call BioArt and work under that kind of heading.
No, and that's what makes this exhibition quite exciting, even on South African shores, seeing it. And of course, UJ being at the forefront in terms of making sure that we see this exhibition. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time and telling us all about it. So exciting, intriguing to say the least. Professor Leora Farber, the Director of Visual Identities in Art and Design at UJ's Faculty of Art and Design. Thank you so much for your time.